Matt Bernier, Dan Illman for Weekend Wrap. The Grade 1 Santa Anita Sprint Championship figures to be a major prep leading in to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. In our coverage here on Weekend Wrap, brought to you by our friends at Fasig-Tipton. It wasn't a giant field in here, Dan, but you had quality. Arguably 3 of the top 4 or 5 choices for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. They break from the gate, and maybe a little bit of a surprise that American Anthem was the one that cleared off and made the front.
I was very surprised that American Anthem was able to make the lead. In his previous start, you remember the 8 Challenge Jerkins at 7 furlongs at Saratoga. He came from well out of it. He's able to make the lead. He's able to take some pressure from 40 to 1 shot Mr. Hinks, but seeing dead red right now, breaking from that advantageous outside post in this short field, is Roy H., the horse to beat on paper, and if you're betting him right now, you're counting your money.
Taking up a beautiful position. Kent DeSormo had said in the mornings he was sitting on fire, ready to go, and you know what? We saw that this afternoon. You see the opening quarter, 22 seconds, a half mile, 45. Mr. Hinks, nice Calbred. He's pushing through out here on the front end with American Anthem. Meanwhile, take a look down on the inside, about 3 lengths off of it. You got Ransom the Moon, who's a Grade 1 winner in his own right. He just didn't fire.
He just did not fire. Now, he had the perfect trip at Del Mar when Roy H. was bothered by riderless Dre Fong. He didn't fire at all here. This is just a very perplexing effort. Giant expectations. We thought that the 6 might be short for him, that he was prepping for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, but this is not a promising performance at all. You see him basically being eased in 5th. Roy H., this is exactly what Peter Miller wants to see. Can't finish him off with a strong hand ride, good gallop out after the race, nice solid performance. This has him sitting on tilt for the Breeders' Cup.
Wins the Grade 1 Santa Anita Sprint Championship, his first Grade 1 to date, pays $3.80 as the 4-5 favorite. Mr. Hanks, $17.40 to place. This was a good effort from the 3-year-old going up against Elders and another 3-year-old. American Anthem rounds out your trifecta. 50 cents on the try, get you back $63.65. Roy H. has become a different animal since he's been gelded. He's gone out, and it also, no coincidence that it coincides with the transition over to dirt, although you look at the pedigree and you would think he's going to be a turf horse. Guess what? He is just a crack sprinter on dirt.
The gelding process worked wonders with Roy H., and you mentioned that this was his first Grade 1 win. The True North, the race he ran at Belmont Park on Belmont Stakes weekend, that was a Grade 1 caliber race from a performance standpoint, certainly not from a graded race. He ran a gigantic buyer speed figure that day. He showed the ability to sit and finish. This outside sort of balcony move from the second flight is what Roy H. does well, and there's no reason to think that in the Breeders' Cup Sprint he can't get that similar trip. The question is, can he upend the defending champion Dre Fong?
For those of you that had seen the initial buyer of a 110, it has been downgraded to a 106. Your runner-up, Mr. Hinks, gets a 104. American Anthem, a 99. From a time form standpoint, 123 for Roy H. on top. Here's just a crazy sort of theory anyway, or a narrative, and maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, maybe it's indifferent, because there are certain people, I'm sure, that are making this case, that Roy H. was yet to win a Grade 1, and that he was ready to go. I know it is a prep, but they want to get that Grade 1 into him. On the flip side, Ransom the Moon had won the Grade 1 most recently. Was this legitimately nothing more than a prep? Let's just get him back into the swing of things.
Even if it was a prep, it's not the kind of prep you want to see, because there was no fire at all at any point in the race. He was just one-paced, and the same goes for Giant Expectations. The prep, if you don't win it, is where you at least see some sort of life. You see a little bit of a late run. You see a little bit of a gallop out. You see maybe where a horse goes to the front and he gets tired late, running like a short horse. You didn't get any of that with Ransom the Moon. You just saw a horse sitting down towards the inside. That's not a problem. We saw that at Del Mar in his prior start. He just didn't run. And with Giant Expectations, I don't know how you go to the Breeders' Cup off a performance like this where you just don't fire in the lane. These are very disappointing prep races for both of these horses.
Can you give any of those back 3 horses sort of the excuse that when you look at the time form, they color-coded it all blue? I know the fractions look like they're honest, but they had it set up as if this was a race that there was no speed signed on. Can you give them any benefit of the doubt there?
I think, again, if you want to give Giant Expectations the benefit of the doubt, saying he tried to rally into it at a distance that's way too short of his best, fine. But the fact remains, he never ran. He never threatened. He never made a bid. And how are you going into a race as a handicapper on the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile with all the sharp horses, the sharp as Aztecas, all the big names? Who knows if more Spirit's going to show up in this race? And this is the prep race that you're faced with, saying, boy, he's going to really move forward off this. He better.
He better move forward in a big way if he's going to have a puncher's chance. Mr. Hinks, American Anthem, they're both 3-year-olds. Mr. Hinks is a Calbred. You know how much I love Mr. Hinks. I don't think he's ready for the Breeders' Cup. I think this was a fine effort. I wonder, you have that Calbred race, I believe, on Breeders' Cup weekend. Why can't he run in a spot like that?
Because you ran probably too well here. You got a good figure. You do have good tactical speed. This is a really nice horse. You were on him real early. He can step on turf. He can step on dirt. He can go to the front. He can sit from off of the pace. Is he in the league of Roy H? No, we saw that here. Is he in the league of Dreyfus? Probably not. But as a 3-year-old, he is eligible to improve with each and every start. I think the Breeders' Cup would be a very tough task for him. I have a feeling they're going to go. These low-profile connections, they deserve a shot. Steve Biondi does a great job in Southern California, but he doesn't get the press of the Millers or the Bafferts or the D'Amatos or the Baltuses. He deserves a shot with this horse.
What's your overall thought and take on American Anthem?
He's going to win the Malibu.
Okay. Breeders' Cup at all?
No, I wouldn't run him in the Breeders' Cup. I shouldn't say he's going to win the Malibu. I think all of a sudden you're calling your shot there.
You're going to give a good account of himself.
That's his distance. He's a 7-furlong horse. This 6 is too short for him, and I don't really think loves being on the lead. I think this was a really nice tightener. Baffert, the advantage of having an embarrassment of riches is you don't have to run all or fire all of your bullets at the Breeders' Cup. A horse like American Anthem, this was fine. Roy H was probably going to beat him. Maybe they're disappointed that Mr. Hinks took his measure late, but I think getting to 7 and taking him off of the pace, that's the race I'm sure Baffert's firing for, the Malibu with this horse.
In the interim, do you at least consider a race? Now, again, they've changed the date of it this year. Do you consider a race like the Cigar Mile?
I think you consider. I think that race always comes up a little bit tough.
Salty.
And I mean, a one-turn route is perfectly fine for American Anthem. I think that Baffert's going to have to pick one or the other, though. Shipping, running in a stressful race there. The natural turn back would work very, very well in the 7-furlong Malibu. But we know that Bob likes to bring horses in fresh off of these races. And I wonder. I mean, you know, it's 2.5 months. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's not like he hasn't done it before.
Right, absolutely. This was a key prep, I think. We're going to find out a lot 3-4 weeks from now down at Del Mar about, really, was this race all that and then some? Are we going to find out that the winner, maybe even the 2nd and 3rd place finishers, come out of the Santa Anita Sprint Championship? We'll find out. At the very least, Roy H. goes on, adds to his overall resume, and finally adds that grade 1 for Peter Miller here in this spot in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. Roy H. wins with a big buyer, a 106.